Like in previous discussion, we have discussed about the prokaryotic cells, and today we are going to discuss about the eukaryotic cells. Like we have discussed earlier, the prokaryotic cells, they are very simple in design, whereas the eukaryotic cells are complex in design. And why they are complex is because they have various organelles which prokaryotic cells don't have. Now in eukaryotic cells we have two categorization, like the plant cell and the animal cell. The basic difference between the plant and animal cell is that cell wall is present in the plant cell, whereas animal cell they lack cell wall. Because plant cell are more rigid in structure, so the structural and mechanical strength is provided by the cell wall. Next, plant cell they contain large vacuoles, whereas the animal cell they lack such large vacuoles. Also, there are presence of plastids, which also have three categorization: chloroplast, chromoplast, leucoplast, whereas animal cells they don't have plastids. Apart from these basic difference, there are certain organelles which are present in both type of cells, and these organelles are your endoplasmic reticulum, whose function is to synthesize proteins because of the ribosomes that are attached on it. Then mitochondria, that is the powerhouse of the cell. It has major function in the production of ATP. Then Golgi apparatus, where all the packaging and your modification of proteins takes place, like glycosylation, etc. Then ribosomes are the one which basically makes up the protein from the mRNA. And last is your cell membrane, that is a phospholipid bilayer. Now we are going to discuss about these organelles one by one. But first of all, let's look at the structure of plant and animal cells in general. Like this is your plant cell. The outer membrane is your you have outer membrane, then you have cell wall, then you have plasma membrane, and this large one is your vacuole. Apart from this, there is a nuclear envelope. In continuation with nuclear envelope is your endoplasmic reticulum. Then we have Golgi apparatus, and your mitochondria are present. Apart from these, the chloroplast, chromoplast, these are the plastids that are present in your plant cell. Whereas the animal cells, they also have centrioles which are not present in your plant cells. Rest all the organelles like ribosome, lysosome, peroxisome, endoplasmic reticulum, these all are same in both the plant cell and the animal cell. Now let's look at the first of all the cell membrane which surrounds the cell, how it is made up of. So cell membrane, it is a phospholipid bilayer. Now it has two regions, hydrophobic and hydrophilic. Hydrophobic means water repelling, and hydrophilic is water loving. So it is like this. You have your membrane, now if you take the structure of this, you have polar head, which we say is hydrophilic. Then these tails are hydrophobic. Now apart from this is a phospholipid and bilayer, because two such layers they run parallel, so that's why it's a phospholipid bilayer. Now apart from these phospholipids, there are proteins that are present in this membrane. There are two categorization of proteins. One are integral proteins, the other are peripheral proteins. Now integral proteins are the ones which will be present all over this membrane. Like it will be like this. These are the integral proteins. This is the outside of the cell and this is inner, like cytoplasm is here. The other are the peripheral proteins which are present on the outside. It can be present in the cytosolic side as well. So these are peripheral proteins. Now anything which is hydrophobic in nature can easily pass through the membrane because this region of the membrane is hydrophobic. So any molecule that is non-polar that can easily cross the membrane, but polar molecules cannot cross the membrane so easily. So how the transport is basically done through the membrane. Now also Nicholson and Sanger, they gave the structure of the membrane and they said it to be fluid mosaic model. Now why it is fluid mosaic model, why this term fluid is being said, is because these proteins, they can move laterally. These are not stagnant over one place. These proteins, they can move laterally. That's why this is known as fluid mosaic model. And mosaic because lipids are also there, proteins are also embedded there. So that's why it led to the discovery of the phospholipid bilayer, and the Nicholson and Sanger said that it is a fluid mosaic model. Now next, how the transport of polar and non-polar molecules are done through this membrane. There are two terms for this: passive transport and active transport. Passive transport and active transport. Passive is for the molecules that are non-polar. Non-polar molecules can easily cross this membrane. So this is the passive transport. Whereas the molecules that are polar, they cannot pass the membrane so easily. For those, you need special proteins as well as it needs the energy in the form of ATP. So hydrolysis of ATP takes place. For that you have sodium potassium pumps. Through which, with the hydrolysis of ATP, like ATP, it changes into ADP plus PI. With the hydrolysis of ATP, your polar molecules are transported from the outer side to the inner side. Also, in the passive transport, the molecule moves from the higher concentration to lower concentration. So that is through the concentration gradient, they move from higher concentration to lower concentration. So that is a passive transport. Whereas in active transport, it is against the concentration gradient. Means the higher one can move to the lower concentration side also, and that's why you need extra energy in the form of ATP to transport such molecules. So let's look at the structure of the membrane in detail. Like I said, this is your phospholipid bilayer. You have outer side, you have polar heads, and inner side you have hydrophobic tails. And these are your integral proteins which transpass both the membrane. And then in these integral membrane proteins, there are two categories. One in which there is a single transmembrane helix, and the other in which many transmembrane helix are present, like this. If this is the membrane, some of the proteins, integral proteins, would be like this. This is maybe can be N terminal and this is C terminal, and this is your hydrophobic region of the protein. And this is single transmembrane protein. Now in other variety you have like this. So these are they are spanning the membrane in like not in single way. They are passing the membrane 2-3 times. So that's why this is a single transmembrane helix and multiple transmembrane helix. So this is the structure. You have integral proteins. These are single transmembrane helix proteins, and whereas there are certain proteins which pass the membrane several times. So this led to the discovery of phospholipid bilayer, and also some proteins they are attached with the sugar moiety for the cell signaling purpose. So this is the fluid mosaic model. Fluid, as I discussed, because the proteins are free to move laterally, that's why it's a fluid mosaic model. And then there are passive transport, active transport. Osmosis is the movement of water from the higher concentration to the lower concentration gradient. That we call as osmosis, the movement of water from higher concentration gradient to lower concentration. Next, if we discuss about the cell wall, like cell membrane, cell wall is not so complex. It is just made up of cellulose. In like cell wall also has two categorization. One is primary cell wall, then the secondary cell wall. Now the primary cell wall is made up of cellulose, hemicellulose and pectin. Now secondary cell wall is also made up of these material, but there is higher composition of cellulose. And this is present in basically the young plants, growing parts, growing cells, whereas this is present in fully grown cells. And this is more thicker and tough. Thicker and this is thin. The primary function of the cell wall is to provide the mechanical resistance. Mechanical resistance to the cells. Now, since we have discussed about the membrane system, now we are going to discuss about the organelles one by one. Now first of all, let's discuss about the endoplasmic reticulum. That is ER. Now ER, it is of two types, rough endoplasmic reticulum and smooth endoplasmic reticulum. We will discuss about the rough and smooth, why they are rough and why they are smooth, but first of all let's look into the structure. Like inside the cell you have nucleus. Nucleus has also two membranes, the nuclear envelope. Now with the outer membrane of the nuclear membrane, endoplasmic reticulum is continuous. Something like this. So if this is your nucleus, nucleus also has two nuclear envelope, two membrane. So the first membrane is this. Now with the second membrane you have the continuation of this kind of structure, which is your endoplasmic reticulum. Now the places where the ribosomes are attached to the endoplasmic reticulum, that portion makes up the rough endoplasmic reticulum. The portion now the portion the outer envelope of the nucleus is continuous that is your rough endoplasmic, the portion where the ribosomes are attached, that is the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Whereas the portion where there are no presence of ribosome, that is the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Now, what is the function of rough and smooth endoplasmic reticulum is, since the rough endoplasmic reticulum has the ribosomes attached to it, therefore it has the role in synthesis of protein. Whereas the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, they have the function in lipid biosynthesis and detoxification. So let's look at the structure in detail. This is the nucleus and this is your nuclear pores, which are there for the transportation of proteins inside and outside. Now with the continuation of the outer membrane, you have this structure which is your endoplasmic reticulum. The portion where the ribosomes are attached, that is your rough endoplasmic reticulum. These are the ribosomes. Whereas where there are no presence of ribosome, that is your smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Now the basic function of ER is to synthesize the proteins. The proteins that are synthesized by the ER then goes to the Golgi. So then let's discuss about the Golgi. ER has the function in the synthesis of proteins. Once the proteins are being formed, they will be sent to Golgi apparatus. Camillo Golgi was the one who discovered Golgi apparatus. It is disc shaped, it has different faces. These are the cisternae that are present, and there are cis phase and then there is trans phase. Now the proteins that are being synthesized by the ER will be sent to the Golgi for the packaging. So packaging of proteins would take place in the Golgi, and also post-translational modification. What is post-translational modification is, post-translational modification means once the protein is being synthesized, it is being sent in the vacuoles into the cis phase of the Golgi, then it will move to the middle and then it would move to the trans phase. Why